What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday edition of Epic BattleCry, the place where we cut through the crap to get to the real deal on the gaming industry today. I am Daniel Kaiser, joined as always by Tony Grice and Brent Adams. Tony particularly is singing the Friday song, which is which is actually against the law on this podcast. It's against the law.
It is. It's actually I'm being arrested currently.
What's her name? Rebecca Black?
Rebecca Black. How did you know that quickly? That's
because it's Friday, and you got to get down on Friday. We're gonna get down with a question.
I'm gonna call in a SWAT team on your ass right now.
don't do that because cops obviously have nothing better to do.
What's the key phrase? Active shooter.
That's
Daniel Kaiser's house.
Not good.
Not funny. Not funny.
Not funny. I really think those kids should be
kind of funny.
Like in jail for a year.
It is kind of funny, though. I mean, to be honest.
No, not funny.
So anyway.
It's Friday. It's the end of the week, but at the same time, when the week ends, the weekend begins. So it is a departing and a beginning all at the same time. Friday is very complex. This question, though, from Alfonso Fletcher, Dark Fletcher, as we've come to know him on Twitter, is not very complex. It's very straightforward, and we're a month and a half away from Halloween, but we're going to dive into this. Boo! I'm going to be Jesus for Halloween, by the way, this year. I have a beard and everything.
Good idea.
Are you?
Yeah, very good idea.
Sacrilege, but okay.
But anyway, what games scare you the most? Very simple Friday type question. I think with games like The Evil Within coming out, talking about where Resident Evil and all of its various remakes are at, where the state of the survival horror.
We're getting the new
genre.
Revelations 2.
Exactly.
Actually,
So
I like the first
what are your favorite scary games, or the games that maybe you didn't like them, but the games that scared you the most? Brent, let's start with you. Scare me.
I would have to say that this is probably Dead Space for me, the original Dead Space. That game, and if you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. It'll be no surprise to you. That game created so much tension in me that I really could not play it for more than about 45 minutes at a time, just because I would literally be sitting there tensing my muscles, just preparing for the inevitable onslaught that would be around the next corner. And I would be exhausted. I would be physically exhausted after 45 minutes of playing that game. And so it was really a fantastic experience, and not just in terms of gameplay, which is great, not just in terms of the kind of aesthetic and everything that the game had, and all of the things graphically that were going on, the sound effects, which were fantastic, but at the core of what Dead Space was, the story of Dead Space, I found really, really compelling and fascinating. And it's one of the few games that I really sat down and took the time to dive into the backstory and everything. They did an animated comic for Dead Space. I think it was called Downfall.
Downfall,
I can't remember. I can't remember what the subtitle was. I think it was Dead Space Downfall. It was kind of like I said, like an animated webcomic or something that kind of went into. It was kind of a prequel, led up to the events of the game, and I was riveted by it. I said, man, this is better than this is better than most horror films I've seen recently. And I've often had people ask me what it was that I found so engaging about the story of Dead Space, and the best answer I can give you is that, to me, Dead Space is it's as if H.P. Lovecraft wrote the original Alien. And if you don't understand what is awesome about that, then I don't think that I can explain it to you in any better way. But just all of the themes of kind of madness and this notion of faith and religion being twisted in this really bizarre, grotesque, and terrifying way, which are things that that Lovecraft explored a lot in his mythos. The idea of those things, kind of being infused into that, kind of sci-fi, horror in space genre. I found that absolutely amazing. It was just like one of those kind of mashup things that just was the perfect blend of things that I already like put together in a perfect combination.
Nice.
Very cool.
Well, I mean, obviously, the Dead Space. I think Dead Space kind of still holds a little bit of the torch for, like, you know, carrying on the survival horror for what survival horror really is. Yeah. With, you know, I think The Evil Within now has a chance to kind of gain that crown if it executes properly. We'll find out in October. But anyway, TG, what do you think?
I think. Well, I was just going to throw in Alien Isolation. I think that's going to be the next game that I think hits that note.
Promising.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm really. I have high hopes.
When I played of that at E3 was scary. It was the adrenaline, like you were talking about, like you could only play for 45 minutes at a time type of thing. Expect that with Alien Isolation. But in terms of scariest games that you experienced, Tony, what were they?
Yeah, I got to be honest. This is kind of a tough question for me, and I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to take too much time because I just don't have a great response to it, because I've never really been into these types of games as in general, like, you know, even like movies. You know, Brent and I do another podcast about movies, and, you know, we're really into movies, and I've just never really been into, like, horror movies, scary movies, things like that. Just, you know, they just don't appeal to me. It's not like I can't take them. I just, you know, they don't appeal to me much. Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, some of these games, like, I really did enjoy Dead Space.
Sorry.
And I really did enjoy Dead Space, and it was a lot of fun. It was an interesting game, but I really won't. I can't say, aside from, like, just the cheap, you know, kind of like peep things jump out at you, kind of, you know, scary things. Like, to me, a lot of times the games that I play, it's like the fear of whatever is coming after you or doing something. Like, it doesn't even have to be like a scary game. It's just that sort of like that adrenaline rush of, like, I don't want to fucking go through all this again. Like, I'm so close, you know, like that sort of thing. The closest thing I can think was just, and I think I've mentioned this one before, but it was years and years ago, PlayStation 1. I used to play, I think we just finished Resident Evil, the first one, and, you know, I really enjoyed it. I mean, just, you know, you go back and play it now, and it's really it's pretty weak. But at the time, it was pretty revolutionary. I mean, it was you know, it was pretty deep and, you know, above a lot of other things that we had experienced up till that point. And the next game I played after that was Tomb Raider. And I had used to play with, there's a friend of mine, Keith. He didn't really like playing games that much, but he loved watching me play games. Like, we'd sit there, like, on afternoons just playing through something. And, you know, he would sit there, like, with Tomb Raider, he sat there with the guide, and he would be reading the guide to me, like, when we get kind of stuck. And there's this one spot where, like, he would just read off to me, and it was just very kind of a normal thing, like, you know, all right, so, you know, go down this way, you know, take a left, go down to the end, you'll turn to your right, and then there's a thing. And it was kind of like that constantly, and we've been playing that way for, you know, for quite a while. And then it's like this one point he gets to, and he's like, and then, you know, you go down the cavern, you slide down this pathway, you turn to your left, and a dinosaur comes out. You know, and like, I remember at the time he says it just like that, like very kind of monotone, very normal. And I'm like, okay, so I just go to, you know, like because it literally just like jumps out at you, and it literally happened like the second that after he said it. Awesome. And so it was so funny because he only jumped because I jumped, because I'm like sitting on the floor cross-legged in front of the TV, and he's on the couch behind me. So like I jumped and then he jumped, and it was one of those things like it is fun to kind of be shocked and scared to move. But as far as an actual scary, you know, game, I do have to say, unfortunately, I don't really probably have a great example of that. What about you though, DK? I know there's probably some that you've really enjoyed.
I mean, there's some. I'm in the same boat more with you in that I don't intentionally seek out a lot of horror game experiences because I don't dig, you know, horror movies or things like that. But I mean, there's been things, you know, the Resident Evils and stuff. But I did play Silent Hill originally. I think the Silent Hill games, and also what I played of Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame was a really scary type of experience, just because you're forced to kind of confront what you're scared of as opposed to avoid it, you know. So I think those games, you know, are intentionally scary, and they've done a good job. And you know, but like you said, I mean, for me, most of the times that I get that feeling, that adrenaline rush, the anxiety of kind of having to escape, it doesn't happen necessarily in horror games. I mean, it could be, in a Skyrim or in something like that where you're like, oh,
or it could even be in just a much lighthearted game. It's just at a point where things are intense or whatever.
And I would say things get intense when you're it's your personal set of circumstances. Or you're coming across this thing and you ventured far and you're low on health and this is something you don't want to repeat and you're trying your best to kind of survive it. So it's replicated across all genres. But
you should play DayZ. That's that game in a nutshell.
Yeah, pretty much.
Play what?
DayZ.
Oh yeah.
But to me, the things that are the most disturbing or scary are going to be psychological type of things that like kind of cause you to question your current experience, what you're dealing with. Sure. And there's been some games that have kind of tapped into that, but as somebody who kind of intentionally avoids, or I should say doesn't go out of my way to experience those other things. Sure. I don't, like you said, have a ton of examples to give. Sounds like Brent amongst us probably has the most, but I did hear great things.
That's the irony is that like I'm not like a huge like survival horror genre fan either. I've had like a few of those experiences over the years, but it's not like it's my top genre or anything like that. I've kind of lucked out and played a couple of the good ones.
And I don't think that you maybe steer slightly clear of them either. No. I think you just kind of look at them all as another game. Whereas sometimes I do think I actually kind of there's something I like that, so I'll stay away from. The one. Did either of you guys get to try PT?
No, I still haven't downloaded it.
So I finally, I think I was telling Brent back when it first came out. I downloaded it, and to be honest with you, I didn't play it for like a week. And finally broke down and tried it, and it's very in that creepy vibe. Now I will say, like for what it is, I know it's not even really a demo; it's just like a little interactive trailer, whatever they call it. But it was very creepy and very weird. And I will admit that it is a pretty. It's a pretty, if you crank up your surround sound and it's a pretty intense feeling. But I won't necessarily say it was an enjoyable one. It's weird. Like when I got done with it, one, I didn't ever fully complete it. Like I finally got to a point where I just was done with it, and I ended up having to go online to like watch the end trailer and all that crap. But it was one of those things where like I can understand if you are looking for those kinds of games, how that can be a very cool thing. But it's just, I don't know. It's like I don't seek out that sort of thing. So I was kind of like, okay, yeah, that was. I think it got the right. I think it got what it was going for. I just don't necessarily think that's something I'm looking forward to. So anyway.
No, and I'm sure as we get towards, to me, The Evil Within has a chance to kind of claim the crown, like I was talking about with survival horror, because it is a genre that I think that people,
oh, it's huge.
Of all the genres, horror. When you look at horror novels, horror movies, gaming is probably the best. If you're into that genre, like say I'm into action adventure, okay, great. You can go see an action adventure movie. You can play an action adventure game. I'm into role playing. Okay, you can go see some in-depth type of drama movie or read a book or play a game. Horror video games probably translate the best as far as a showcase for the medium, because you having to survive that scenario or push through that scenario. There's nothing more individual and visceral than that.
Immersion of being in that world, I think, definitely works towards its advantage, where it really,
right. Which surprises me.
Scares and
my point is that it surprises me that there aren't more games to kind of be vying for that, like survival. Right now it's in a state of flux, that whole genre. Like nobody says this is the definitive type of experience. I think Dead Space,
it seems like they always mix genres with it too,
and then they started adding more action elements and other stuff, but who knows.
Good question though.
Scary
for
question.
Sure.
Even though
Anyway, Alfonso, we hope that answers your question, and we hope everybody enjoyed that conversation and lets us know what their scariest games are. That's going to do it for today, Friday, September 12th, but we've got more EBC heading your way next week, so let us know your questions. You could tweet at us at EpicBattleAxe. You could follow us on YouTube/EpicBattleAxe or hit up EpicBattleAxe.com and join the conversation over there continually. For Tony Grice and Brent Adams, I'm Daniel Kaiser, wishing you a happy holiday weekend, even though it's it's not even a holiday, except for the fact that Destiny came out and there's a new iPhone or something. So have a good one, everybody. We'll see you Monday.